The first question that was asked to me was by the American Consul General of Perth. And the first question he asked me, the Dr. Naik, do you consider Osama bin Laden to be a terrorist? And I told him, as far as Osama bin Laden is concerned, I don't know. I haven't met him. I haven't interrogated him. He is neither my friend, neither is my enemy. I cannot give the answer based on the news reports of BBC and CNN. If you want the answer based on BBC and CNN, you have no option but to say he's a terrorist. But the Quran says in Surah Hujurat, chapter number 49, verse number 6, that whenever you get information, check it up before you pass it on to the second person. Osama bin Laden is concerned, I cannot say whether he's a terrorist or not. He's neither my friend, neither my enemy. I haven't integrated him. But what I can say very well, that we have got established proof, very well, from the same media controlled by them, from CNN, from BBC, we know that thousands of innocent Afghans have been killed in Afghanistan. Thousands of Iraqis have been killed in Iraq. Even if we agree, 9/11, they say, was done by Osama bin Laden. No proof, hypothetical. When the Afghanistan government wants proof, George Bush gives it to Tony Blair. He gives it to Musharraf. And normally, even if we agree, for sake of argument, Osama bin Laden did it, for sake of argument. But does it justify in killing thousands of innocent people? Normally, on an international level, there's extradition policy, that whenever any person who's a culprit in a country goes to another country, you can get him back. For example, India and UK have extradition policy. A few years back, one of the music director, Nadeem, according to Indian government, he was involved in murder. He goes and sits in UK. The Indian government has extradition policy with UK, but when they wanted him back, they said, prove it that he's a culprit. Many people from India went there. Our police force went there. They could not prove. They even had to pay for the lawyer charges of that Nadeem. We know that in the Bhopal gas tragedy, we know that thousands of innocent Indians were killed. The person of Union Carbide goes to America and sits there. Imagine the Indian government attacking America, give the person back. Is it right? Why don't they do it? It is proved. Union Carbide. Thousands of innocent human beings killed, injured, wounded, damaged for life, families ruined, ran away. We have extradition policy, nothing happens. So Afghanistan and USA don't have extradition policy yet. Even if you agree, for sake of argument, Osama bin Laden did it, it does not justify killing of innocent human beings. More than 3,000 to 5,000 Afghans were killed. Then, after a couple of years, goes to Iraq, weapons of mass destruction. And then they go there, after the attack, they don't find anything. Yet, they are controlling Iraq. What is the cause? What is the reason? And people in Iraq are more troubled. They were troubled with Saddam Hussein. He was not a good Muslim. He was not a practicing Muslim. I'm not in favor of Saddam Hussein. But the trouble they are facing after America has come to Iraq is multiple times more. More people are being robbed. More people are being raped. The main purpose is what? Is oil. It's an open secret. So I told the American Consul General that time that according to me, #1 terrorist in the world is George Bush. And I'm a person who keeps on speaking very often. I had gone to Australia just a couple of months after 9/11. It comes as headlines in the newspaper at that time, December 2001. Dr. Zakir Naik calls himself a fundamentalist and says George Bush is terrorist #1. I did not know of any speaker on a public level, I don't know, maybe, who has condemned George Bush as terrorist #1. Today, it is very common. I can name 100 top personalities. And we know that Honorable Justice Hosbet, I didn't know that even he considered. Rightly, he's an honest judge. And I agree with that. I don't know when is the first time he said, I don't want to compete with him. He's more senior to me. I don't know when is the first time he said that. But now when we read records, we come to know that the president of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, he said that the biggest terrorist in the world is George Bush. The president-elect of Bolivia, Evo Morales, he said that George Bush is a terrorist. The famous singer and activist of America, Harry Belafonte, he said the biggest terrorist in the world is George Bush. In UK by the name of George Galloway, He said the biggest terrorist in the world is George Bush. And he said that the blood that is there on the hands of George Bush and Tony Blair is much more than the bombers who have done bombing in London. And when you have asked, he said, it will be justified. George Galloway, who's MP in UK, he says, it will be justified that if a suicide bomber goes and attacks and kills Tony Blair without injuring any other innocent human being, that suicide bomber will be justified. Who said that? George Galloway. We have Jyoti Basu, a few months back. He said, when George Bush came to India, that number one terrorist is George Bush. Everyone says that, but the Indian government wants to invite him. For what? So that we learn the art of terrorism? Recently, a couple of days back, it was a news article in the newspapers that the Nobel Prize winner Betty Williams, she said that she would love to kill George Bush.